Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a round in the A-League men's. Round 8. So much drama. More so than usual. As we know, it is always an entertaining league. But there is so much to talk about. There's basically huge talking points from all 6 games. Some good talking points, some not so great talking points. But we had unexpected score lines, huge upsets, lots of goals too. There is a lot to talk about over the next hour or so. Whether it's the big away wins for Newcastle Jets and Adelaide United, we had 2-2 draws between the likes of Auckland City and Melbourne City. Wanderers of Brisbane also drawing 2-2. Western United with a big 4-3 win over Sydney FC as well. So we are going to be going through all 6 games one at a time. We'd love you guys to join us in the live chat. We are live right now on YouTube and TikTok. And this is the first live round recap we are doing under the new channel name. This is Ozwatch Football, formerly known as Coastwatch Football. But just to clarify, Coastwatch Football still exists. So basically, Ozwatch Football, the channel that you're watching this on right now, is sort of your place for A-League, Socceroos, Matildas, Australian football stuff. As the name would suggest, Coastwatch Football has now shifted to a new channel as a dedicated Central Coast Mariners fan channel. Of course, being a passionate Mariners fan, we had to make sure we kept the Mariners content going strong. So check out Coastwatch Football, the new channel for Mariners content. But we're going to talk about all 6 games here today. Great to see everyone here on the live chat here on YouTube. A-League Edits is here. Fortnite, Marcus, Spencer, Wolfie's here as well as one Knicks fan, and Sam as well. Great to see you all here. Some regulars tuning in. Great to see Newy Jets. We are trying to sort of create a fun little community here of A-League fans to talk about all of the action. We do have to start off, I think, with the first game of the round. We will go through one game at a time, starting from the first game. And look, Central Coast Mariners, we do have to talk about the Mariners' loss first up against Adelaide United. The 4-0 win for the Reds. I mean, this was, from an Adelaide United point of view, incredible game, incredible performance. The Reds were absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, from a Central Coast point of view, a really disappointing result and performance. And it's been a bit of a shaky season up to this point for the Central Coast Mariners. Look, the Reds again deploying a strong lineup. We know they had Falami out. He was suspended after picking up a red card last week. But this attacking setup for Adelaide is turning into one of the most dangerous in the competition. Archie Goodwin was very good in this game, the former Newcastle player, opening the scoring. Stephen Mork and Zach Clough, fantastic. I mean, the way Adelaide operate, looking at the formation here, it is sort of like a 4-2-3-1, but that's more so out of possession. When they do have the ball, Dylan Parias pushes right up that right-hand side. I mean, Ryan Kitto gets up the field quite often as well. But Stephen Mork and Zach Clough basically play as almost like 2 number 10s. And their movement is fantastic. They found so many pockets of space and really sort of pinned the Mariners back basically from the first minute. Central Coast, I think we really struggled to sort of gain any sort of momentum in this match here. Look, for the Mariners, there was a sense of optimism heading into this game as well, because you look at the Mariners lineup and it's like, this is the same team that beat Sydney FC last week. Yes, I know Sydney FC had 10 players. But I was optimistic. I thought we were building something, wins against Newcastle and Sydney. I thought, look, Adelaide are a top side, but I thought maybe we could at least get a draw from this game. But my goodness me, the Reds were just unstoppable. Looking at the stats here from Google, 10 shots for Mariners, 2 on target. Just the 2 on target there. Very sort of quiet in front of goal for the Mariners. 18 shots for the Reds, 6 on target. And they controlled possession as well. It was a really uncharacteristic performance from the Mariners at home. Yes, we have had a few home defeats this season across our Asian Champions League games and the A-League games. But this one felt like the worst. This one really hurt. And I think there's a lot of work to do for Mark Jackson. I think there might need to be some big calls. There's been some players who have been starting regularly so far this season that I think need to be dropped. And there's some promising young players who are on the sidelines who I think need to be given an opportunity. So here's one Knicks fan in the live chat says Adelaide are about to play all Sydney teams, truly running the gauntlet. Fortnight here with a good comment here in regards to the new Dutch defender at Adelaide United. Fortnight here in the live chat says Bart Vriends has completely transformed this Adelaide side. Archie Goodwin also has all the attributes to develop into a class striker, dude. And it's not just Archie Goodwin. I mean, he was great in this game, but Luka Jovanovic, another top young striker who has enormous potential as well. So you still got the experience in there, as you mentioned there, Fortnight with Vreens and Isaias, who was good in this game as well. And then you've got these youngsters that we're talking about, the likes of Goodwin, of Jovanovic as well. Ethan Alagic has been very, very solid in midfield this season also. So they've impressed me so far, the Reds. And again, I think a lot of us didn't necessarily expect too much from the Reds this season. A lot of the talking points surrounding Adelaide heading into this new campaign was, what are they going to do without Nesri Irankunda, without Hiroshi Ibasuki leading the line? And my goodness, they have answered those questions well and truly. They don't need those guys. They are performing so well. Obviously, don't get me wrong, would love to have, I'm sure they would love to have Nesri and Irankunda still at the club, but this team is dangerous. And the thing that I took away from this game is that Adelaide United on their day are capable of beating anyone in the competition. Yes, that includes Auckland. Yes, that includes Melbourne Victory and whoever else you want to put up there. 4-0. Thomas here in the live chat. G'day, Thomas. Says Sabit needs more game time. Theo is so mid, says Thomas. I think Theo, look, I like Theo Harris. I think, again, he maybe struggled a little bit to get himself into this game. He was obviously brought off at half time as well as Kazewski, so the wide players were swapped out. But yeah, Sabit Nyor is again another one of these young players who I think, I would love to see him get a run from the start. I would love to see him get a run. Newy Jets with a big question here. Great question. Where do you think Central Coast Mariners need to strengthen in January? Look, I know Ali Kowal grabbed a couple of goals last week, but especially with the injury to Ryan Edmondson, who is out, I think it's apparent now that the Mariners need to sign another striker. Look, defensively, overall, I actually think we're okay defensively. I think Nathan Paul has actually been playing pretty well so far this season. We know Brian Kaltak is class, and hopefully Sainsbury returns sooner than later. Look, midfield, maybe another central midfielder would be nice there. McCalmont, Steele, again, good on their day, but maybe struggled a little bit in this game. But I think if I had to pick one position for the Mariners to strengthen, just another striker, another young, promising striker to join the club, just to compete with Kowal, and especially if Edmondson's going to be out for a little bit as well. It's certainly, in terms of Adelaide United in their season so far and how it's tracking, they're undefeated. They're 5 wins and 2 draws. We're going to have a quick glance at the ladder because, man, I don't think anyone expected them to be this high. Adelaide United, 5 wins, 2 draws. They've scored 17. They've conceded 9 goals. They're only 2 points behind league leaders Auckland FC, who it feels like Auckland FC have sort of just been flying past everyone else. But man, the Reds are right behind them there, and they've been so impressive so far this season. So watch out for the Reds. I wouldn't, I'd be terrified if I was any team coming up against Adelaide United. So we are going through all 6 A-League games. Thanks to everyone for joining us live here. We're going to be live for the next 50 minutes or so, going through all the games one at a time. A lot to talk about. Mariners 0, Adelaide 4. And next up, we're going to jump into Saturday's games. 4 games on Saturday. It was a whole lot of fun. And it kicked off with Wellington Phoenix hosting Macarthur FC. This game ending in a 2-1 win for the Bulls. A result that I don't think many people would have tipped. I didn't tip it. I thought Wellington were going to have enough to get the win here at home. But maybe there is now some growing concern for Wellington. Consecutive losses. Yes, they did lose to Auckland last time around, but now a loss at home against Macarthur FC, who they themselves have been struggling for consistency this season. Looking at the stats overall, pretty even. It felt like Wellington Phoenix had some promising chances, especially in that first half. Obviously, Germain scoring, from the penalty spot, which was initially saved, but the rebound going in, certainly a handball there. Barbarousis grabbing the equaliser before half-time. And at that point in the game, you thought, okay, Wellington could run away with this. They're usually pretty strong at home in the second half. But Macarthur FC, man, they really matched Wellington in this game. Philip Curto was incredible. He made some phenomenal saves in this match to keep his side in it. And Dean Bosniak, he was the youngster who came off the bench and grabbed the goal, and a nicely worked goal as well from Macarthur FC. Ariaf Piol involved in the build-up. And this Bulls side, they're a funny team because, look, they'll that we think back to when they beat Perth Glory 6-1, and also, now beating Wellington Phoenix here 2-1 away. Like that's an impressive result to grab. They're one of these teams who, again, on their day, you think could really cause a threat for anyone in the league. The thing that Miles Stojoski just has to find now is a bit of consistency for this team. A bit of consistency. Owen here, good to see Owen in the live chats. Obviously a Macarthur FC fan, as we can see by the profile picture. Owen says, that penalty gave me a heart attack. That is the second penalty Germain has missed. And Curto, again, yeah, dude, Philip Curto. I mean, look, I don't want to. I was about to bring up the Alex Paulson incident today, where he obviously missed that back pass for that Auckland FC own goal today. But I mean, Philip Curto is, for me, one of the top goalkeepers in the A-League, if not the best goalkeeper in the A-League. Speaking of goalies, one Knicks fan chiming in this match. On this match says, Oluwayemi really isn't a true replacement for Paulson, sadly. I think he's been all right. He's made some good saves, but yeah, there's obviously been a couple of mistakes there, unfortunately, for the new Wellington keeper. But I guess it's always tricky trying to replace someone of the quality of Alex Paulson, who is obviously now at their rivals. So yeah, I think he's still all right, but yeah, hopefully he can get some of those mistakes out of the game. Arlison here in the chat, g'day, says Macarthur are looking very dangerous on their day. Might get top two. You never know. Yeah, I mean, well, there's been times over the last few years where, especially early on in A-League seasons, where the Bulls have started really brightly and they've been one of those leaders at the top. I remember it happened last season, like a couple months into the season, they were in the top four from memory. And yeah, dude, if they get on a decent run of form, I mean, you look at this team here. I mean, Germain, we know, is a top striker. Danny De Silva, obviously he's struggled with injury, over the last year or so, but if he gets fit, he's a top player. I thought Jake Holman was very, very good in this game. Luke Bratton, always, a decent defensive midfielder. And then you got pace and trickery with the likes of Drew and Yakalish on the wings also. So you've got a top team, especially going forward. They're always capable of scoring goals, that's for sure. Penguino in the live chat, great name. Penguino here says Macarthur have been a team that could make finals and on some days looking like not even semis. Yeah, so that's sort of the sense now around the Bulls. And we could say the same thing, I think, for several teams across the league, is that this is probably just the case early on in an A-League season. We're still, this is round 8 now. We're still relatively early on. But just teams are sort of getting through some of that inconsistency and clearing that out now. And I think once we get sort of past round 10, teams will really sort of have things sort of locked in and their systems locked in place, and we'll have a really good sense in terms of how each team is playing. But yeah, man, I think the big takeaway is that Macarthur are certainly a dangerous team when they are going. Wellington Phoenix, what's happening? What's happening? Look, it's not an absolute disaster for Wellington Phoenix. They still are in a good position, and they have played some good football this season. And for me, are still one of the top teams. They are incredibly well organised. Micah Rojas started this game alongside Barbarouses up top, and he was very good. I thought Rojas combining with Barbarouses at times. But Giancarlo Italiano will want to get these losses out of the way, and they'll want to bounce back big time next week. So, look, it's still a good team, Wellington Phoenix. It's hard to pinpoint sort of what's going wrong for them at the moment. They'll be very disappointed with this result there. Very, very disappointed. All right. We've got some great questions and comments coming in here in the live chat. Adelaide here in the live chat. We did just touch on the Reds match against Mariners, that asks how far can Adelaide United go this season. Honestly, the way they're playing, they're contenders for premiers. It's so early on, but with the way on current form, they are looking very good, and they deserve to be second on the ladder, I think, at the moment. Knicks fan chiming in regards to Wellington Phoenix and some of their current issues says, We lost half of our starting 11. Many were crucial to our season, last season. Knicks fan, I assume you're talking about. Yes, indeed. A lot of departures there, which was a bit concerning for Wellington Phoenix. Some of their replacements that they brought in have, been good, with the likes of Ishiga and Nagasawa, who I think have been good. Paolo Retre is a solid midfielder as well. But yeah, Wellington Phoenix, look, they currently sit 6th on the ladder. 3 wins, 1 draw, but 3 losses. They've only scored 9 goals in 7 games, which isn't terrible, but it's not as good as most of the league. So Wellington Phoenix in an interesting position at the moment. And with that win, with Macarthur grabbing that win, yes, they do have. They've played 1 extra game, but they do jump ahead of Wellington Phoenix, Macarthur C, and now on 5th spot on the ladder. Great segue into the next game. We are going to talk about Sydney FC Western United. Newy Jets football. Great to see you here. Check out Newy Jets football. He makes some great A-League content. Newy Jets here says this round overall was so good. Plenty of goals. But the Sydney Western game was a thriller from a neutral point of view. Absolute thriller indeed. Probably game of the round in terms of entertainment value. Sydney FC 3, Western United 4. Wow, dude. Western United. Where did this come from? Look, they haven't been... for those who caught my ladder prediction before the start of the season, you'll know that I did call Western to finish last. I thought they, on paper, had the weaker squad. Nothing against their players, but they were just lacking a bit of quality, maybe a bit of experience. And some of their young players, man, are playing so well at the moment. Dylan Leonard, 17-year-old centre-back, very, very good so far this season. And look, this team defeating a near full strength, obviously no Leo Senna, but near full strength Sydney FC team. Really impressive. And some concern here for Ufuk Talay and his Sydney FC side. Wolfie here says Sydney will lose to Adelaide and Victory in the next 2 weeks. That would not be ideal for Sydney. Yeah, I think some real tricky games coming up, especially considering they lost last week as well against Central Coast Mariners. Arlison here says a great game as a Sydney fan. Well played from West United, especially Sutton, their goalie. Sydney's defence is horrible, says Arlison. Yep, Matt Sutton, great handful of saves in this game. Very, very good. And yes, this Sky Blues defense, we have to talk about it because that seems to be where it's going wrong. And you look at the scoreline and it's sort of, you don't have to be a genius to figure it out. I mean, Sky Blues always dangerous in attack, especially when you have the likes of Joe Lolly, Douglas Costa, Anas Wahine, Patrick Klamala. Klamala's been very good this season, scoring a handful of goals already. But defensive woes that they have to sort out and conceding 4 goals here at home against Western United is unacceptable for a team as big as Sydney FC. Look, again, credit to Western United, who came in with a game plan and were very dangerous going forward, especially on the counter-attack. But look, Sky Blues back 4. You got to say this is the full strength Sydney back 4 at the moment with Grant, Matthews, Popovich, and Courtney Perkins. Andrew Redmayne in goals, and that back 5, if you want to include the goalkeeper, conceded 4 goals in this game. It's got to try and find a way to stop conceding goals at the moment. The Sky Blues, and we sort of saw it towards the end there, especially the winner that Western scored there. If you see sort of when Western won the ball, they were like deep in their own half, Western United, and they won the ball. I believe it was Lawton who won the ball and played that fantastic long ball. If you look at on the replay there, you check it out, the replay, because you look at Sydney's back line and they were like 20 metres into Western's half. Everyone was so high up, so high. Even the centre backs are so high up. There's no wonder why Michael Roos got in behind and one-on-one on goal so easily. And we see it a lot from Sydney FC. Courtney Perkins loves to get high up the pitch. Ryan Grant, obviously, his sort of signature move is sort of those runs, bombing on down the right-hand side as well. And especially in a setup like this for Sydney FC, where, maybe they missed Leo Senna in this game. I think that's a huge talking point. They're 2 sort of central midfielders, if you like, Caceres and Segacic. Sort of Caceres playing as that deepest lying midfielder, which probably isn't his best position. That's not really where Caceres is best utilised. And look, maybe that hurt Sydney FC in this game. I think that's certainly a big talking point. Fortnite here says Sydney should go in for Deng. I mean, that'd be a great signing. We know Thomas Deng is a quality central defender, Socceroo. And speaking of that, Wolfie also asks, do you think Sydney actually will buy some defenders in January? I think that's target. That's a priority target for the Sky Blues. Has to be that backline, surely. I mean, you look at the rest of the field, and there's I don't think there's any lack of quality when it comes to midfield, when it comes to the front line. When you look at the players on the bench that Sydney FC had, they had, in terms of attackers, Patrick Wood, Thiago Quintal, Jagan Kaczewski, and then you got defenders, Aaron Gurr, Joel King there as well. Leo Senna did not feature in this game, despite being on the bench. And even some players who aren't even on that bench who I'm sure could come in and do a decent job in an attacking sense as well for Sydney FC. So certainly a fascinating one for the Sky Blues and Ufuk Talay, who maybe has a bit of work to do with some tough games coming up for the remainder of December. Marcus here, Sky Blues fan here. Marcus, great to see you here in the live chat as always. Marcus has been a long-time viewer of the channel. Says Grant needs to move into the Bratton role, sort of that defensive midfield role. Hey, Marcus goes on to here to say, I think De Jesus needs a chance. We always start like this. We have done so far for the past 3 years. I want Curtis Good in January. That would be a great sign. Curtis Good, someone who has immense A-League experience and a top defender. That would be a great pickup for the Sky Blues. That's an interesting suggestion there. Brian Grant sort of playing a number 6 role. Fascinating suggestion. Look, that could sort of help them out. It could be something that Ufuk Talay could look at. That would allow Caceres to work further up the pitch, which I think is where he's better utilised. But yeah, especially if they're going to be missing Leo Senna, for games, they might have to look at someone with the defensive quality of Ryan Grant, who is a good defender. Didn't have a great game this time around. He was beaten a couple of times on that left-hand side by Abel Walati. But yeah, that's a really interesting suggestion there, Marcus. Newy Jets here in the live chat says, we know Sydney are dangerous on the attack, but defensively need to tighten up quick, fast. But for Western, they are building a little bit of form. Yeah, they are. They certainly are. They're sort of the dark horses of this season. Again, another one of these teams sort of struggling for consistency. But I tell you what, I kind of like the team that they've built, and they're performing well. Again, earlier I mentioned Dylan Leonard, a very promising young defender. just 17 years of age, and he's been very, very good. If he continues getting minutes, I'm sure he's going to attract some interest from overseas, considering his age. Tomoki Imai on his day, a very solid A-League defender. You got 2 hard-working midfielders there, Thurgate and Bozanovsky. Great to see Bozanovsky score his first A-League goal. And 2 top strikers. You got Hiroshi Basuki, who's a fantastic striker with his height, with his strength. And he was good in this game. And Noah Botic, who got on the score sheet in this game, one of Australia's top young strikers as well. So a good team that West United have built. They maybe don't have the depth of some of the top teams in the league. But if they can grab results like this, it's absolutely huge. Let's have a look at the ladder as well. Where do Western sit on the ladder at the moment? Because it's seriously impressive what they're building so far. Western 8th on the ladder, 2 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses for the green and black. 11 scored, 12 conceded. They're in an interesting position here. They're level on points with Sydney. They are level on points with Sydney as well as Mariners here. So it is really fascinating, sort of looking at the middle of the table there. And there's a lot of teams there who are just struggling for consistency at this current point in time. Wowee. So just a stunning scoreline overall. Congratulations to West United on a huge victory, 4-3. Not many people saw it coming, and a fantastic game to watch from a neutral point of view as well. Great to see everyone tuning in here live for our round recap. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. We are live on YouTube as well as TikTok. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. We are doing these every week after the A-League round wraps up. And there's still a lot to talk about, man. We've got Wanderers Brisbane, Glory Jets, big 4-0 win for the Jets. And we're also going to be breaking down Melbourne City and Auckland FC's 2-2 draw. But let's dive into Wanderers taking on Brisbane Raw. We'll talk about it straight off the bat. This game was a disappoint. It ended in a very disappointing way. I put out a video on YouTube Shorts and across the socials last night discussing the events that we saw unfold in this game. I don't think it's mincing the words to say that it was simply blatant time wasting. Look, we see time wasting all the time in the A-League, all the time in football. It just happens. But this was blatant. It was repetitive, and it really killed the game. And it's sort of I'd love to hear from Brisbane Roar fans in terms of how they sort of feel about sort of the situation in this game, because look, again, I want to say as well, like, not questioning whether, some of these Brisbane players were genuinely injured. They put in a fantastic defensive effort in this game, Brisbane Roar, to come away with a point. But yeah, when your head coach is telling you guys to fake injuries, to time waste, it's a little bit interesting. I don't know, from my point of view, and obviously, sort of the consensus is online is sort of the same. I should say the consensus is that it was pretty shocking scenes. It was pretty shocking scenes. Ailey Edits here says the fact that the head of referees was there was even worse. Really though, that's just not Australian football. It's a disgrace, really, says A-League Edits. Kazor here as well, not happy with it. Nama says everyone was booing. Yeah. So look, it wasn't great to see it. That second half, the first half was so entertaining. We had 2-2 heading into the halftime sheds, and we should focus on the positives. New Jets here says great finish from Waddingham. Great goal. Top young Aussie striker. Hey, look, it was sort of back and forth in that first half, wasn't it? Borello scoring in the 10th minute, and then we had Gabriel Clerc with the own goal, gifting Brisbane the equaliser in the 13th minute. And then Borello scoring a cracking long-range free kick in the 21st minute. And then Waddingham with, as New Jets says here in the live chat, great finish indeed. Really, really nicely taken goal. And that's what you want from a striker. I mean, Waddingham, who was overall a bit quiet in this game. Like, he didn't have that much involvement. But he got his opportunity and he took it. And that's what you want to do as a striker. That's your job. If you get the opportunities, if you get that one side on goal, you have to make the most of it. And he did. And it ended up earning a point in the end for Brisbane Roar. Hey, Thomas, absolutely right, saying Harrington had a good debut. Yes, I agree. He was very good. And just 17 years of age as well, I believe. I could be mistaken. I believe he's just 17, teenager. Very impressive from Harrington at the back there. He obviously stood out with his height as well. Very, very tall for a young player. And he looked very comfortable in this A-League match here. Look, a bit of a different setup. I don't know if anyone sort of noticed. To my eyes, it seemed like a bit of a different sort of midfield setup for Brisbane, sort of playing more of a 4-3-3, if you like, with sort of O'Shea and Zabala playing as two number 8s, Willie Shaw sort of sitting the deepest of those midfielders, whereas in the past rounds, we've seen Brisbane sort of play roughly a 4-4-2 sort of formation. I liked it from Raw, added an extra number in midfield and allowed, those wide players maybe to get a bit further up the park as well. But look, from a Wanderers point of view, I think they'll be disappointed that they weren't able to win this game. I think in the second half, they had some decent opportunities to win it. Credit to Brisbane, who held them out in the end. But look, I mean, it's interesting watching this Wanderers team and sort of, you look at the starting 11 and where does Juan Mata sort of fit into this side? It's a team that still has a lot of talented players, don't get me wrong. I mean, Milanovic has had a good season. Borello with a couple of goals in this game. Kraev is obviously a very dangerous player on that left-hand side. Sapsford as well. Juan Mata. I mean, where does he fit into this team is the question. I don't think he slots in as one of those two midfield players. He's not necessarily sort of a deep-lying midfielder, is he, Juan Mata? He's more of a number 10, if you like, an attacking midfielder. But Wanderers don't really play that system. It is pretty much a 4-4-2, isn't it? I mean, unless you drop Zach Sapsford and play him sort of alongside Borello. And I mean, when he came off the bench, he was playing out on the right-hand side where Milanovic was stationed as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Ailey Edits here says, I'm not a Wanderers fan, but Juan Mata, why buy him to only put him on for the last 15 minutes? Sydney FC try to play Costa as much as they can, really, says Ailey Edits. Yeah, look, Costa's been a pretty integral part to Sydney FC's setup, but Yeah, it's really weird seeing sort of what's happening this season with Juan Mata at Wanderers. It's been a little bit underwhelming just the way it's panned out. Again, I don't know if you can blame Alan Stajic. He's just playing a system that doesn't really suit Juan Mata. I guess that's the case. Again, you sort of want to play, I guess, a 4-2-3-1 if you've got a Juan Mata and sort of playing him as that attacking midfielder in behind the striker. Thomas here says Mata needs Shikluna and probably Milanovic to get him into the game. Look, and I'd love to see it if Mata, could come in from the start and maybe play. He might have to play in one of those wide positions. I'd love to see him be given the start, man. I'd love to see that. And he's obviously a quality player. He's a quality player, and we'd love to see him getting more minutes in the A-League, that's for sure. Namar says, why can't they drop Clisby and Brillante and play Priestman? Look, it's an interesting point there, Namar. I think maybe, look, Brillante, I think, is still a decent A-League midfielder, as is Oscar Priestman as well. Namar wants to see Mata play as well. Sports guy here in the live chat says Juan Mata will probably want to leave, not getting the game time he likely wants. Look, it's probably not what he expected, to be fair, to be sitting on the bench week in, week out so far in the A-League. He did get a couple starts earlier on in the season, but especially considering that when you bring in like big international players, it's because they're going to play an integral part in your starting 11. I mean, the question that I just ask is, if Alan Stajic, look, I don't know if he was directly involved in wanting to bring Juan Mata to the side, but like, what was the thinking if Wanderers have if Alan Stajic wants to go in playing a 4-4-2, which he has played a lot throughout his career, what was his plan for Juan Mata? Where was he going to play him? Was he going to play him as one of those two forward players? Look, Zab Sassford has made a good start to the season, but I mean, surely you got to give Juan Mata some more games on. It's very, very interesting. Very interesting. So, look, Wanderers 2, Brisbane 2, an entertaining first half, a bit of an underwhelming second half. Wanderers will be disappointed not to get the 3 points in the end, but Brisbane Raw, a crucial point for them. Still looking for their first win of this season, as we have a quick glance at the ladder here as well. Brisbane second bottom on the ladder, still looking for that first win. 2 draws, 5 losses. They've scored 11. So they are finding the back of the net, Brisbane, that's for sure. Conceding 20 goals, so not ideal for Brisbane Raw. Wanderers 10th on the ladder. 2 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses. Scored 15, so they have scored a decent number of goals as well when you look at the rest of the competition. Conceded 14. So Western Sydney Wanderers, again, struggling for consistency. And if they don't get some points soon, they could see themselves sort of sticking at the bottom of the ladder there, towards the bottom, I should say, as well. We've got a couple more big games to talk about in our round recap. If you are enjoying and you want to support, hit the like button. You can also consider sending through a super chat and make sure to stay subscribed to keep up to date to these round recaps every single week. Perth Glory 0, Newcastle Jets 4. Wow. I mean, just wow, right? I didn't expect. I didn't expect such a one-sided scoreline from this game. Look, probably a decent number of people called for, expected Newcastle to win this game, but they won it emphatically. And this game for me, look, Perth Glory have already been very poor this season. We know that. But this game and this result for Perth Glory, I think, is where the alarm bells are well and truly ringing now. I think Perth Glory are in a real horror situation. This season has already been an utter disaster for Perth Glory. There are legitimately almost no positives from what we've seen from Perth Glory so far this season. Newcastle Jets heading into this game had only won 1 game so far this season and had lost 5. They were second best in 5 out of 6 games so far this season, Newcastle Jets. And they came here and had a 3-goal lead after 26 minutes. On the other side of the country, over in Perth, they had a 3-goal lead. A deserved lead too. Aquilina, Bayliss, great goal from Bayliss. Ben Gibson, he grabbed 2 goals in this game as well. And Perth Glory just had no answers. They showed a little bit of life in the second half. I thought Abdul Faisal was bright out wide for Perth Glory, but you never got the sense that they were really going to get anywhere sort of near Newcastle Jets in this game. And I really feel for Perth Glory and their fans at the moment because it's reminiscent. I know well being a Mariners fan of sort of 5, 6, 7 years ago when we were rock bottom of the ladder. But as I said, there's almost no positives to talk about. I mean, it's not like they've got, they're giving heaps of minutes to young players. Look, there are a couple of young players in their team who are getting minutes, but it's not like they're developing these young players, giving them, heaps and heaps of game time. They're playing a consistent sort of 11 each week, generally speaking. Defensively, look, Tommy Michello came in for this game. Great signing for Glory. But yeah, man, there's just so much concern. There's so much. I'm seriously worried. Look, it's not an exaggeration to say that I genuinely can't see this team winning a game of football this season. I don't think that is extreme to say. I can't see this team winning a game of football this season. They lose 4-0 at home to Newcastle Jets, who have been one of the poorest sides so far this season, losing 4-0 on their own home turf. This was meant to be the game. This was the game that Perth Glory highlighted to turn their season around. They obviously had a poor start to the season, but they've got a decent run of games here. They've got Brisbane away next week, and then I think Macarthur at home after that. Western at home, I think. But my goodness, I've lost all hope in Perth Glory. I keep trying to be optimistic about them, but my goodness, if this team isn't going to put together competitive performances, I can't see how it gets back on track. And look, if I think Zrilic needs to go, I do think he needs to go. Yes, they're only 8 rounds into the season, but man, it's just not working at the moment. We've got a lot of thoughts here in the live chat in regards to Perth Glory. Let's have a look here. Sports Guy says, we don't expect Perth to do well against any team, but Newcastle, come on, get in the games, the Sports Guy. Namar says, I thought Perth would win and play good because they got Michello. Yeah, very good signing to bring in Tommy Michello. But didn't help them too much, unfortunately. Newey Jets obviously very happy with this result from a Newcastle point of view. Says, let's go. We looked good out wide. Much needed win. Shame we have the bye next week. A-League Edit says, Perth Glory should really be grateful that there is no relegation yet in the A-League. Would an NPL team be better than them? I mean, maybe at this stage, eh? Maybe. Sports Guy also says, Zrilic is not helping anyone with this either. Perth fans were on top of the world 5 to 6 years ago. Yeah, it was 2019 they made the grand final. Now they barely have anyone at games. They're still pulling like decent sort of average A-League crowds, to be fair. I don't know what the crowd figure was last night, maybe 5,000 or 6,000. Tequila here in the live chat says Perth need to sign a proper CDM. You got Brandon O'Neill there, who's an experienced A-League central defensive midfielder. Look, he went off injured last night. I think he had a concussion. Gulmulka, Pennington, maybe not necessarily defensive midfielders, more sort of, box-to-box midfielders, if you like, as well. Sam says it's very bad when you hear Lockie talking seriously, talking too serious, as it's very, very rare. Oh, look, I just feel for Perth fans. That's more than anything. I just feel for Perth fans because I know what it feels like being a Mariners fan from, the Mariners a few years ago. We're sort of in a similar position. Yeah, in a similar position. Kazor here in the live chat says, being a Glory member for over 9 years, this is the worst team I've seen. Zrilic has to go if Glory want to improve. And if the rumours are 7 players are leaving in the transfer window, is that right? Wow. I mean, I'm sure it's not probably not a happy place to be right now. I mean, when you're losing so many games, it wouldn't be a happy place to be right now. And yeah, look, David Zrilic, I'm sure he is a great head coach. And look, he was part of Sydney FC's coaching setup last year, and I'm sure he's got a bright coaching future ahead of him. But for whatever reason, it just hasn't worked out at all. It hasn't worked out. They're not in games. They're not playing well. Look, I mean, they got like a 2-2 draw against Adelaide a couple of weeks ago. Like that was a promising sort of result for them. But there is no sign of this team sort of contesting anyone in the league this season. I mean, that's a great question that Tequila brings up here as well. Which coach do you think Glory go for after sacking Zrilic? Look, if it does happen, if they do part ways with David Zrilic, which might not happen, they might stick with him. That's a great question. It's a great question. Who knows? Who knows? What's Marco Rudan doing at the moment? Who knows? My goodness me. Best, says Marcus, in terms of best up Barisha, of course. I mean, that would be interesting. But actually, I think someone brought this up in the round 7 recap last week. We should mention, I don't know if Perth Glory fans would like that, considering the events that took place in the 2012 A-League Grand Final. If you ask a Perth Glory fan, they will say that Bessa Barisha dived at the end of that Grand Final for that penalty. Anyway, g'day to Nathan as well here in the live chat. Great to see everyone joining us here for this live round recap. We're going to be live for the next 20 minutes. My goodness me, 4-0 for Newcastle Jets. Hey, great win for the Jets. Good for them, man. Good for them. Let's have a look at the ladder for these two teams. Obviously, the Perth Glory now rock bottom of the ladder. Well, 2 points off 8 games. 2 draws, 6 losses. And this is a concerning thing as well for Glory, and this sort of sums up their season. After 8 games, they've only managed to score 4 goals. I mean, that's really poor. It's really, really poor. And conceded 24. Oh, goodness me. That's an average of 3 goals a game. That's an average of 3 goals a game. So that's seriously concerning, man. I mean, 8 games into the season, scored 4, conceded 24. I mean, it's upsetting to see. It is upsetting to see, man. So, Perth Glory. We'll see what happens for them in the coming weeks, but hopefully for them they can get some points on the board. Newcastle Jets, an important win for them, as Newey Jets said a bit earlier. Crucial 3 points to keep them in touch with the top 6. Newey Jets as well. He's saying, I was pleased how we turned possession into goals. Lately, we've been controlling possession, but not turning it into any goals and being clinical. Yes, no, that's right. Yeah, like especially in some of their home games this season, a couple of home games for Newcastle. They've had a lot of the ball, but struggled to create those opportunities in front of goal. And who knows, maybe this result and performance will sort of spark Newcastle's sort of season where they can go on a decent run here. Because they showed, I mean, some of these guys that score some great goals. I mean, Lockie Baylor's cracking goal. Ben Gibson scoring a couple goals here as well. Very, very big game for him as well. Very big game. So it's time to talk about the final game of the season. And this was a fun watch as well. Melbourne City 2, Auckland FC 2. Would love to get your thoughts on this game because it was an entertaining watch. And this, heading into this round, this was sort of the game of the round. I think you had Melbourne City sitting on 4th on the ladder, Auckland FC heading into this game looking to continue this incredible winning run. And sort of the first, if a lot of people calling it the first real away game. They did play in Sydney for Unite round a few weeks ago. That was against Macarthur SC. But whether you call that an away game or not, I mean, I guess technically it is. But this away to Melbourne City here, a fascinating game. It really, really was a fascinating game. It was, I think the overall takeaway is that the draw is probably a fair result. A draw is probably a fair result. Look, you've got a City side who are still missing some key players due to injury. No Lecky, no Nabut, no Tilio here. So they've still got the youngsters sort of running the show here. Again, I thought Andreas Kuhn, though, was very, very good, the Austrian midfielder in this game. Very dangerous going forward. And he had a hand in City's first goal, Mehmeti, getting on the score sheet again for City. And look, the concern for Auckland was a bit of panic heading into this game when the lineup was announced because no Dan Hall, no Cam Howison, and there was one other player that they were missing as well who has just escaped me right now. Verstraete, of course. I mean, that's probably the biggest one as well. No Louis Verstraete in midfield, who has arguably been the best midfielder in the league so far this season, the defensive midfielder. 3 big outs for Auckland FC. And I think it did affect the game a little bit. You could tell, especially in midfield, no Verstraete. They didn't necessarily control the midfield maybe as well as they would have hoped. A really competitive game and a tight one indeed. We've got some great comments coming in here in the live chat as well. Here we go. Thomas says that first City goal was a beauty. It was really nice too. Kewen setting it up, and then Mehmeti, classy finish. Really sort of like the deft touch to get it past Paulson and inside the post was great. Owen says that free kick that City gave away late on was very bad. Yeah, I mean, silly. Well, they had a couple late free kicks, Auckland FC, and just sort of clumsy fouls. I think Aurelio Vidmar will be spewing with his players giving away those fouls right at the end there as well. Thomas says McKinley was good. Yeah, look, he was all right. He was. This was his first A-League game, and he look, obviously big shoes to fill replacing Vestrate, but young midfielder, he was decent. Moreno is a beast, says Nama. I mean, he was great. Second half, Nader Moreno, fantastic. Scoring the winner in the end. So we did have that Mehmeti first half goal. Guilherme scoring that little glancing header early on in the second half. Pinecker with the own goal. Obviously, Paulson missing the back pass. A real shocking moment at the back there for Auckland FC. An uncharacteristic moment as well for Alex Paulson, who's one of the top goalkeepers in the league. But as the commentators were saying, that back pass sort of caught a little bobble there on the grass, which maybe affected things. That back pass there for Alex Paulson. Moreno thought he had a second goal earlier on for Auckland, ruled out due to offside in the build-up, and then Moreno finally scoring in the 95th minute. I mean, Auckland FC, look, their winning run does come to an end. We should say that the winning run does end, but obviously it's been an incredible start to the season for Auckland, who are still top of the table. 6 wins, now the 1 draw, still undefeated. Scored 12 and conceded 3. So again, they conceded 3 and 2 of them were in this game after 7 matches for Auckland. And Melbourne City maintained their position in 4th on the ladder, 4 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses. So, look, an entertaining game. Look, interesting looking at the stats as well. 9 shots for City, 11 for Auckland. Possession was relatively even. City just ahead as well. Ryan here in the live chat. G'day, Ryan. Ryan says, can Auckland go all the way and create something special like the 2016-17 Sydney FC team? They have started the same way with wins and a draw like Sydney did that season. Can they do the same thing? I think they can. I think they can. I think the result. I think those players missing for Auckland did play a factor in terms of how this game panned out. I think if they did have Dan Hall and Louis Verstraete in this game, I think Auckland may have controlled this game a little bit better and may well have won it and may well have kept a couple goals out from Melbourne City. Dan Hall and Verstraete have been fantastic so far this season. And I tell you what, the way they're playing, man, that they do look so good still. Will they go all the way just like Sydney FC did? It's tricky to say if they're going to do that, but they've made a great start. That is for sure. That is for sure. Marcus, this is an important question. Marcus asks, would Auckland get into the Asian Champions League if they won the league? As far as I'm aware, the answer is no. As far as I'm aware, the answer is no. The New Zealand teams, Auckland FC and Wellington Phoenix, cannot play in the Asian Champions League. That's because New Zealand are not part of the Asian Confederation. Australia is, obviously. So as far as I'm aware, they cannot feature in the Asian Champions League, which is it's a shame, man. It is a shame, isn't it? Like, it would be cool if Auckland go on to have a great season, playing some incredible football. It'd be great to see them play against some of the top teams across Asia, but it is a shame, isn't it? It is a shame. Newy Jet says Auckland showed great character. Shame for City, though. I thought they had it. Yeah, I mean, especially the response from Auckland. I thought City were probably the better team in the first half. Had some good chances, Melbourne City. And Auckland FC, they did make that change at halftime, dropping Jake Brimmer a bit deeper into midfield. Gave them, I think, a bit more control and they had a bit more going forward in attack. So a good switch up in the second half from Auckland FC, who were definitely much more impressive in that second half as well. Butter here chiming in regards to Auckland FC. Butter says, still not buying into this Auckland hype. left New Zealand once before this weekend. The one game they played, it was a neutral venue with a three-week break beforehand. It is worth pointing out that, they haven't really had, this is sort of, I guess, again, their first real away trip. It will be interesting to see how Auckland go, away to Adelaide, away to Victory, away to Sydney FC. How will it go in those games? But look, I still think they'll be a super competitive team, and they'll be well and truly leading the way at the top of the table, at least competing at the top of the table for the remainder of the season. Casey here in the live chat, g'day Casey, says Auckland have been really dangerous on set pieces. Most of their goals so far have been from set pieces. Yes, indeed, yeah. Whether it's Nando Pinaka or tonight it was Guilherme May. Great delivery, De Vries. I mean, one of the best crosses in the A-League at the moment as well. Francis De Vries. It's a shame that Auckland's they had that goal ruled out in the second half, because De Vries' deliveries are terrifying for defenders and goalkeepers. So these curling left foot deliveries, fantastic. And that delivery for Auckland's first goal, when he sent that in-swinging corner in, I thought it went straight in. From the corner, and I was like, oh my goodness, De Vries has just scored a worldie from the corner, but May just getting a little flick there at the near post as well. So look, this was one of the more high quality games of the round, a really intense game. There's a lot on the line, but again, I think the big takeaway from this one is that the draw feels like a fair result. And as we saw here, I mean, Auckland FC, Melbourne City maintaining their respective positions on the ladder. All right, we're going to be live for maybe the next 10 minutes or so. We've got some great questions and comments coming in, so we're going to jump into a lot of these right now. Here we go. Sharpie, in regards to Wanderers, feel free to ask questions about anything A-League related at the moment. We'll jump into them right now. Sharpie asks, what are your thoughts on the Wanderers? Bro, feel like we're in a never-ending cycle of mid. A never-ending cycle of mid. Yeah, look, it's a bit like that, isn't it? It is a bit like that, unfortunately, for Wanderers, where they'll have games here and there where they look really, really good. And I do think they've got some fantastic players. Milanovic has been very good this season. Barella's, I think, has made a great start to this season. I think they've got some good defensive players. I think Bonitig is one of the top young defenders in the league, but they're struggling for consistency and currently 10th on the ladder. Alan Stadjic just has to find a way to gain some consistency, and I don't know if they've found their strongest starting lineup yet. I still think they have to find a way to get Juan Mata into the team as well. Butter here says De Vries is class. Funny to think that he is the 5th choice left back for New Zealand. Shows how much depth we have. Who's ahead of him, Butter? Maybe Sam Sutton. Oh, Liberato Kakache, of course. Kakache would be ahead of him. Who else is there? Garen Kowal returns. Ask TJ Penno. Hey, I'd love it. Mariners fans would love to have Garen Kowal back on loan. That'd be great. Owen asking a question in regards to his Macarthur FC team. Where do you think Macarthur should strengthen in midfield? Also, do you know when Chris Economides will be available for Macarthur? Because I really want to see him. Not sure about Economides. He's obviously has not featured for the Bulls yet. They did have Bernardo back from injury. He was on the bench this weekend, which was a big boost for them. Economides still not yet to be seen for the Bulls, so hopefully it is sooner than later for Bulls fans. Owen does ask, where do you think Macarthur should strengthen in midfield? I think the midfield is arguably their strongest area. I think Bratton and Holman are sort of the go-to sort of central midfielders now for them. And look, at De Silva's fit. He has to play as the number 10, I think. I think he does. So I'm happy with the Bulls midfield. They've got good players to cover as well, and Franz Deli and Liam Rose as well. Hey. Ryan asks, do you think Auckland could make some big loan signings in January from their sister and brother clubs with the new rule changes? Well, we did see Alex Paulson come over on loan from Bournemouth. I mean, could they grab a sneaky loan from their Premier League, their friends in the Premier League? I can't see it happening, to be honest, just because I think the team is probably looking pretty solid at the moment, Auckland FC. I don't think there's any real gaps from them at the moment. There's no real holes for Auckland FC, and they've got decent squad depth. The players that they're bringing off the bench are good players as well. Good players. Thank you, Butter, for mentioning some of the New Zealand left backs here. Kakache, Dalton Wilkins, James McGarry. Forgot about him, of course, former Mariner. Sam Sutton and De Vries. There we go. Very strong in the left back position, New Zealand national team. Newey Jets asks, what do you make of Eli Adams? Seems like a really good player. I'm impressed by him. Surprise victory, let him go. Yeah, look, in terms of victory, letting him go, I think it was just a matter of him not getting the game time. He was just, he was barely getting on the bench at times, Eli Adams. And I think it was a great move for him and for Newcastle Jets, to go to a team like Newcastle who are giving more minutes to young players. And he's become an integral part to that lineup. And when he is in form, when he's going, Eli Adams, he's a top player. He's a top player. I remember when I was at the Macarthur Jets game early on in the season and he scored those 2 goals in the second half. He showed his ability in that game. He's a top player and a lot of potential. Newey Jets also asks, what have you made of the crowds overall this season, following so much hype to this season? Yeah, obviously the crowd numbers have sort of been pretty average. Nothing incredible. Nothing disastrous. Don't get me wrong. I think there's been, there has been some good attendances so far this season. But look, the league isn't all of a sudden going to, flick into the most successful thing overnight. It's all about grinding, working hard. It's all about us fans promoting the league. That's what we're doing here. This is a fan-run channel. That's all it is. We are trying to promote the league, and great to have you guys here, of course, as always, to discuss the league. We are trying to promote it the best we can, and hopefully the crowds continue to grow. Owen asks, what happened to Lockie Rose this week? Missed the Jets game. I also meant to ask, who should Macarthur sign to strengthen in defence? Who knows where Lockie Rose was this weekend? Hey, yeah, wasn't involved in the Jet squad this weekend. In terms of who Macarthur should sign in defence, again, probably don't need anyone. You've got Keely Adamson and Voits in those fullback positions, and we've got 4 good centre backs now, I think, in Uskok Yerman. Ollie Jones has been starting the last couple of games, and Dino Aslanigic as well. Thomas, good question. Will we ever see the best of Fayahau? Yes, he hasn't gotten at his best, I think, at the moment, Vitor Fayahau. We haven't seen the best of him. I'm sure it will come. Maybe he just needs some regular starting minutes. He hasn't been a regular starter. Most of his appearances have come off the bench, that's for sure. All right, tuning off in a few minutes' time. Before we do so, we're going to have a quick glance at the upcoming fixtures. Our round 9 fixtures video will be coming out during the week. Keep an eye on that one. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. But round 9 sees Adelaide United host Sydney FC. Sydney FC, couple losses heading into this game. The Reds, high on confidence, undefeated. Surely that's a win for the Reds. You never know with Sydney FC and their star-studded attacking lineup. So that could be a fun game to watch on Friday as we get closer to Christmas here. Auckland FC host Western United. If Auckland at home, you'd expect them to win. But Western United, all of a sudden, looking a little bit like an interesting team to play at the moment with a 4-3 win against Sydney this past weekend. So that could be an interesting watch as well. We've got the 2 bottom teams playing each other here. Brisbane Roar, Perth Glory next weekend on Saturday. Both teams looking for their first win of the season. Surely this has to be a win for Brisbane. They have shown some promising signs throughout this season already. Haven't got the win against a poor Perth Glory side. The minimum surely has to be a win here for Brisbane Roar. Melbourne Derby next week, ladies and gentlemen. Melbourne victory, Melbourne City. Can tell you guys right now, we will be doing a live watch along for it. So join us next Saturday night for the Melbourne Derby, Victory City. Should be a fun watch as well. 2 teams who are in the top 4, Melbourne Derby. Next weekend as well, Western Sydney Wanderers host Wellington Phoenix. 2 teams looking to get back to winning ways. And then a Monday night fixture, Christmas Eve sees Macarthur FC host Central Coast Mariners. I am planning to get down to Campbelltown for that one. So again, that'll be an interesting one. Tough one for the Mariners. Macarthur FC. Tricky team at the moment, hey? So look, we've got some huge games for the remainder of the month. Round 9 will be a whole lot of fun. Hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in for this live round recap. I really do. We are trying to create a community of like-minded football fans here, A-League fans here on the channel. Oz Watch Football, your home for fan discussion around A-League's Socceroos Matildas. Check out the new Coast Watch Football channel for Mariners-focused content. Once again, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you enjoyed the weekend of A-League football. We are doing these round recaps every single week. So join us here live on YouTube. Thanks, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Have a good one. See you in the next one. Cheers.